Hi, I'm Rohit. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Stilt, and today we have Jonathan Lewy with us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah,
It's an honor to be here.
You
The
were
f- the
you
the,
were
the,
very
the,
busy.
the famous podcast.
No, thanks for joining us. And Jonathan is a serial entrepreneur and investor. Jonathan's first company was in 2002 called Wise Media Group, and then another one in 2010 called Miorden that was acquired by Sin Delantal in 2011. And all of these companies were based in Mexico, right?
Yes.
And then he started a seed stage fund called Investomax in 2012 with Sergio Romo, who we'll talk about. And through Investomax, Jonathan has invested in more than 90 companies, both in the US, Mexico, and a bunch of other countries,
Yeah, mostly LATAM and US.
LATAM and US.
Some in Europe, in Africa, but mostly there.
So, and 90 companies,
Yeah, roughly.
right? And you've been doing it for the past 7 years.
Yes.
And some of the companies that Jonathan has invested in include Rappi, which is the largest delivery company in LATAM right
They
now.
just announced last week they raised $1 billion.
From SoftBank,
Yeah.
right? I thought it wasn't announced. Okay,
Yeah,
it's announced.
yeah.
Interesting. So Rappi, Unbabel, Arcus, and obviously Stilt.
Most important.
Most important one. Last year, Jonathan also started Grin Scooters, which is an electric scooter company for the Latin American market. Grin merged with Yellow a few months ago and now known as Grow Mobility.
Yes.
Grow has raised 150 million in equity funding and is the largest electric scooter company in Latin America with a 90% market share.
Yes, we are. It's gonna be close now to 200 million because we're closing another series, like another round. So
Okay, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
why you've been busy. But thanks for coming over. I really look forward to our conversation.
Me too. Thanks again for the invitation.
Totally. So tell me a little bit about your background. You are originally from Belgium, but you moved to Mexico 15 years ago.
Yeah, very logically, no?
How did that happen?
So yeah, I was born and raised in Belgium, and actually my first company was during college. I took over the restaurants and cafeterias from the university where I was studying. So that was the first time I kind of knew that I wanted to do businesses and be involved more than studying actually.
Right.
But yeah, I think that with some friends with who I studied, we had the opportunity to start a business in outdoor advertising in Mexico.
Right.
I never thought I would stay in Mexico. I thought
Right.
like, let's do a business, make some money, and then we'll go back.
Right.
I actually liked Mexico. I saw a lot of opportunity in Latin America, big countries, a lot to do. And the culture, and then obviously I got married to a Mexican woman and Mexican son, so
Right.
decided to stay a little longer. But seriously, I think that as I was pretty young, and I saw a lot of opportunities, and that's why I decided to stay. And it has been a good experience.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you did that company for a few years, Wise Media Group, before you started your next one.
So I did a few things. I also had a few restaurants, and then I met Sergio actually doing also outdoor advertising. There was a moment where regulation changed, so there was a lot of M&As, and Sergio was a lawyer.
Right.
So we decided to work together, and we actually did a few M&As in that industry. And then in 2010, Sergio lived for a while in Spain, and he saw like the beginning of some food delivery companies there. And we thought it would be a good idea to build that in Mexico. So we co-founded our first company together, which
Right.
like we worked together, but that was like the first company. That was called meeorden.com.
Right.
It was the first food delivery company.
Right.
then Sindelantal, Delivery Hero, and Hello Food from Market Internet wanted to come to the market, so we had the opportunity to sell to Sindelantal, but continue being part of the journey, which we run for another year and a half,
Right.
until it was bought by by Just Eat in the UK.
Okay. Yeah.
And at that moment, we decided that it was a good moment for us to do something else.
Right.
We were eager to start a new company. That was like
Right.
what we wanted to do. Like
Right.
we're like, okay, let's build something new.
Right.
But we didn't know what. And we met, I think, somebody that was really important for us at that time. It's an angel investor from the Bay Area called Ariel Poller.
You introduced me to him. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah.
And he told us something very important. And he said, like, if you don't have something that you're really passionate about and that you really want to build, maybe it's time for you guys just to invest in a few companies, take time, help other founders. And so we decided to do that, and we started investing in a few companies. Obviously, when you start a new business like investing, the first one are not
Right.
are not the best investments.
Right.
But we kind of like the idea of working with other founders. So
Got it. But so that was the story of InvestorMax. How did you like actually met Sergio? Like, did someone introduce you, and how did you guys decide to work together?
So I was at that time organizing like a friendly poker game at my place, mainly with other French-speaking, like French people, Belgian, Swiss people at my place. So it was mainly like European living in Mexico City. We're having a friendly game. And Sergio was coming back. He studied in France, in Lyon.
Okay.
So he had some friends from France. So he was invited to the poker game. And we both really liked the game. And we usually end up being on the final table together.
Right.
So we had time to get to know each other better.
Right.
And that's how I knew he was a lawyer. And I think that one day, I just knew he was a lawyer.
Right.
And one day, talking a little bit more, we saw the opportunity of working together, and in a space that I knew about outdoor advertising. So I invited him to work together on a project, and that worked out pretty well. So from there on, we started working more and more together.
Got it. And that was like 2007, 2008?
That was probably, no, it was around 2009, I think.
2009.
Yeah.
As you so you've been working with Sergio for the past 10 years now.
Yes.
You did maybe company together, you did M&A, then you did a fund together, and now you're doing another company. As you think about other people starting businesses and they try to find co-founders, what initially attracted you to work with Sergio and maybe decide that you are ready to jump into business together with him?
I think that it's like
Sergio is very nice, by the way.
So I think that I think it's to do one step back. I think that it's like any relationship. Before you get married, you like to know somebody, and
Right.
I think that that's what a little bit what happened. We start working together without particularly building a company together. And when you go to YC interview, they always ask you, did you do a project together?
Right.
Because that's how you get to know somebody working together, which is not always the same as being friends together.
Right.
I think YC look at it as if you study together anyway, and you did a bunch of projects during university, then you already know how the other person can be helpful,
Right.
etc. I think that's really important, and I think that we did it a little bit not like naturally. Like we did a couple of projects, worked out well. We saw that we were complementing each other. Sergio is a super clever guy.
Yeah. He also helped us with legal stuff initially.
Yeah. And I think that's important to see how you can complement each other, how you can start working together. And I think that was the base of like, okay, now we like working together. Let's do something like it comes a little bit naturally. It's not like forcing something. And I think that it's the same with any relationship. Like before you're getting married, I know that in India it doesn't work like that. in a lot of other culture. But to be honest, I think that it helps a lot when you have time to get to know each other, and that you build something together, and then things comes naturally. And when you have a good experience, then it you want to build something new together, and then it continues. In our case, I think that we complement each other pretty well, and most important, you build trust.
Right.
So you kind of create a situation where you trust each other, and I think that's key for the relationship.
No, that's awesome. And those relationships also stay longer. What a lot of people also don't realize, like startups tend to get tough at some point.
They will.
It doesn't matter if you're growing fast or if you're not growing, or something else is just going on. You just got to trust the co-founder at many different times, and you got to be spending a lot of time together every day.
Yep.
So that's important. Cool. So you and Sergio have been working together, and you let's talk about InvestorMax. You invested over a period of 6-7 years in about 90 companies. Which was your first investment? Do you remember, and how did that work out?
So let me try to remember what was the first one, but it doesn't matter. The first few ones didn't work out at all.
Okay.
And I think that it has a lot to do, obviously, that when you start, you don't really know what you're looking for. And also, it's like any other industry that you need to learn how to do it, and you're gonna go through a period of learnings. But most important, you don't bring any value neither,
Right.
because obviously you don't really know what you're doing.
Right.
I think that the mistakes we did in the beginning was we were writing too big checks for us into too few companies, and based more on the business than on the people. And obviously it didn't work out. And we made also a lot of mistakes, but we learned from that. And the good thing is that we started investing our own money. So it was our own money. The bad thing was that it was my money. So, But yeah, I mean that I think we accepted that, and it was part of the learnings. We also understood very early that we needed to learn from people that were doing that for more time. That's how we started coming to the Bay Area, to San Francisco. We also said we were also clear that we wanted to invest in the next unicorns.
Right.
So we really wanted to invest in company with high growth potential. And so that's how we came to YC.
Right.
And we came pretty early to YC demo days. I would not even say that our intention was to invest. It was more about to learn.
Right.
And so our pretension was not like, why would somebody take our money at that time? But I remember that one of the first investment we did at YC was a company called Cambly.
Samir Sharif and Kevin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great guys.
Yeah.
And it was a very small check, but the reason why, like, they made us realize that we could bring value because we knew a region where that could be very interesting for them.
Right.
And so that's how we started understanding that maybe there is something we can bring, especially the know-how of that region. And from that, we made a bunch of other investments at YC. We started working with a lot of entrepreneurs. And at that time, there was very few foreign company at YC. I think a big change was Michael Siebel, that really came with, I think when we met him, his role at YC was actually diversity. He was like bringing diversity to YC. And 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 I think that we felt that something would happen there. You know,
Right.
like it was starting to open themselves. Like from that time up, I think around 2015, then around that, a lot of company from India, from
Right.
Africa, from South America started to come into YC, and we were lucky to be there and being able to bring a lot of founders we discovered in Latin America, help them to get through the interviews, connecting to other founders. You helped some of the company
Right. Right.
we ask you kindly to help them,
Right.
and that has been amazing. That to be part of that for us was a blessing, and I mean, most of those companies we never invested, but it was a way to help them to get access to,
Right.
and creating community. I mean, that's all about that.
Got it. And do you remember what was the first year you came to attend?
I think it was
them?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And if we just like go back a few years, how did you sort of get in touch with YC or like build a network in the Bay Area? I don't know if at YC Demo Day around those times was invite only, and how do you get invited to that? Because you would have to like know other people to be able to attend YC Demo Days, or to know founders and have them trust you that you're a decent.
So at that time, obviously YC Demo Day was already big, but not as big as today. And
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
time, if I remember well, there was like 40 or 50 company per batch. So it
Right.
was already bigger, but it was not like the 200 company now.
Right. Right.
We applied
Right.
and got an invitation.
Good.
Came.
Right.
We knew nobody. Like I could have a badge that said Mickey Mouse, and you know,
Right.
like,
Right.
and but we were surprised how people actually were open to
Right.
discuss, and
Right.
I think that the first thing was making a few investments, small checks, getting to know some entrepreneurs, and then they present you to other entrepreneurs. I think also we were lucky that some of those investments did okay, so they start raising more funds. So
Right.
so you get to know other investor in the same company.
Got it.
So you kind of build that also by going more and more to San Francisco, getting to know more entrepreneurs. You kind of blend into the ecosystem. I think the most important is if you can actually help company,
Right.
because at that moment that's when you become more than a check.
Right.
You actually become you start creating value for the founders. I hope we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that story. I mean, you created value for us, so I should be talking about it, but I want you to tell the story because you also have some background with what you were doing behind the scenes to help us, and that actually was the first big thing that happened to Stilt after YC was because of your guys' help. So I'll set the context and then I'll let you tell what you did behind the scenes. So it was mid 2016, and we are a lending business and we are lending money. We got some money from Paul Buchheit and some other people, and we are lending that, consistently lending and growing. And 1 month we had promised some borrowers that we will lend them money, but we ran out of debt capital around that time. And we were short $50,000, and they gave you guys a call. You're like, we are short $50,000 to meet our next month's target. Can you guys please help? Now you go from here.
So it was a situation where at that time $50,000 for Stilt was a big amount of
Right,
money,
right.
and obviously like we start looking into our LPs and think about who might be interested to invest that as a loan. And so we thought about one of our investors and set up a call
Right.
in order to make it happen.
Right.
And
It was a
our
video
goal,
call. Yeah.
like the goal was we actually practiced together, like how we gonna make it happen, and
Yeah.
and the goal was to get to the 50K.
Yeah.
And something happened in the call that
Yeah.
like I think nobody expected,
Yeah.
and was pretty cool. So at a certain point, the investor got so excited that actually decided to put 50K in equity
Yeah.
and put another million in debt.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I think it was something that helped a lot still, because it gave you the possibility to continue grow. I would lie if I say that that was the outcome we expected. But I think that the main idea is, at the end, the relationship still continue today.
Right.
And that's the most important for us. That
Right.
it's the $1 million is still in the company.
Right. Right.
2 years, 3 years later?
Yeah, now it's 3 years. I think it was meant for 2 years. Maybe we should go and check. But the money is still with the company, and the investor gets interest payment every month.
And in that's the purpose of at least for us. If we can create value for our companies and for our LPs, then we did a good job. And I think that this is a perfect example of, I think that if we can bring value.
Right.
We learned a lot, and I think that with the time, we have been really lucky to work with guys like you. We learned so much from the entrepreneurs, and what I really enjoyed in our journey is like to see a company like Stilt going from an idea when we met, because Stilt was one of the company that has little revenue or little KPIs at the time of demo day, but to see that the company has grown steadily, month over month for the last 3 years, that's impressive.
I sometimes look back myself and think about demo day. We still have the video from demo day presentation, and saying we disbursed $75,000 in loans that time, and that was a big number to me. Until the investor gave us $1 million, we didn't expect. We thought we'd reach $1 million in 2 years until he gave us money. But last month we actually did 2.5 million
in a month.
And that's just fascinating that we went from doing $70,000 a month to literally like almost 35-40 times over a period of 3 years almost.
It's a great job you guys are doing. I mean, like, and I think that the most difficult part when you invest is how you separate what you think about the business and what you think about the founders. And I remember that when Sergio spoke to you guys, I was not really excited about the business. Lending the money. Right. No, to be honest, like lending money to immigrants, like lending money as a company, like it was not a sexy industry. Lending to immigrant, I was like, how big can that be? And until I met you guys, and I think that's key. Like when you meet people and you see the passion they have for the industry, and everything you said like changed completely. And I came out of the meeting like I was really excited about the company, and so I think we were one of your first checks. At the time.
I think the very first, I think within 2 days of demo day, it was decided. I think we met just twice in total, and I remember I met Sergio at Crossroads Cafe on Delancey, and we like, okay, we are going to do this. You were not there. I think you were somewhere else. It was just Sergio. So I talked to Sergio, and we just said yes to the deal at the time. It's I think 3 years and 2 months ago now.
We need to continue growing.
Cool. No, that's actually great. So you guys add value. Obviously, you have added a lot of value to Stilt as investors, especially very early on when there was no other help available, and you must have done the same thing for many other companies. So as things are sort of going well, a lot of your portfolio company raising $1 billion from SoftBank. How did you sort of decide to put it in the background and start a new company and just like jump right in?
I think that we kind of remembers always that at the end we start as operators, and the reason why we started to invest is because we didn't had another project to do until we looked at micromobility, and it was something that we were very excited about.
Right.
And to go like 2-3 years back, Sergio already had a scooter.
Oh, Sergio did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
he owned one.
Okay.
Old
Yeah.
old version.
Yeah.
And I was actually making fun of him because like it was an amazing experience to ride
Right.
it, but owning it was actually a pain in the ass because you own the scooter, and you drive at the office, and then you have no batteries, but the
Right.
charger is at home, and
Right.
and so there was always an excuse why not to use the scooter, or you had to call his wife. Please send me the charger
Right.
in an Uber so I can
Right.
use the scooter.
Yeah.
And then the last time he used it was because he had a flat tire, and and the
Okay.
tire cost $3, but to bring it from China it was $100. So
What?
yeah, taxes and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
so basically the scooter stayed at the office
Yeah.
and became part of the furniture.
Right.
And then we saw what happened with Bird in Santa Monica, and it was like that moment where we said, okay, this can be huge because it's a good part of the scooter without the bad part of the scooter. And the scooter was, so we already invested in another company doing micromobility, e-mopeds in Mexico, because we saw that there is a need in micromobility. And when we saw what was going on with scooters, we thought that like that could be huge. We tried to invest in a couple of company. We knew Erwin from Spin. We knew Sanjay from Skip. So
Right.
we kind of got close to that. We tried to talk to everybody. But we also realized that this is a business that can be way bigger in Latin America. And we're very excited about the idea of how that can grow there. And there was nobody doing it. So we end up speaking more about scooter than about our next fund. And at that moment, we kind of look at each other and say, maybe it's a good moment to decide to do that.
Right.
And yeah, it's been a crazy year, but
Yeah. So you are just 1 year old at this time.
we
Right?
started the company last year. We launched the 15th of July with like
2018.
2018.
Right.
Like
So
we
not
took-
even 1 year
Yeah.
since launch. And let's talk about the growth of the sort of super exponential growth of the company. So you launched and you launched with huge funding rounds and thousands of scooters on the street. I remember talking to you on your demo day. You were showing me the app. You were like, these just went live. They're like these scooters and these many rides have been taken. I think those were like single digit numbers, maybe 100 something scooters. And what kind of scale are we talking today? How fast have you guys grown?
It's been really fast. Like it looks like it was 10 years ago. I also look 10 years older. But yeah, it went really fast. I think that we were very lucky. The timing was perfect. I mean, micromobility was in its peak. I think that the story we told people was actually something that made sense. Why micromobility in Latam can be huge.
Right.
And we got really lucky that we got funds to trust us to invest. Then the hard part, we had to deliver. It went like, I think we were able to hire the right people in order to scale fast. But in 10 months of operation, we are in 7 countries, 25 cities, and we are now 2,300 employees. So it's like
What?
Yeah.
I was about to ask you how many employees. You have 2,300 employees.
Yes.
In 10 months.
Yes.
Like 200 employees, 250 employees a month.
Something like that.
You don't remember anymore. And across 7 countries.
Yes, a lot of the employees are people in the streets. Like it's not all office employees.
Right, right.
But for us, it's important because we want to create quality jobs for people from low income neighborhoods.
Right.
Give them a decent job.
Right.
It's a different business model than Lime and Bird here because we hire a lot of people. They're in the streets. They recover the scooters. They charge them. So it's a lot of in-house. It's
Right.
actually paid employee, part of the company, and we believe in that. Like we really want to create a company that has a huge impact in the society. So it's not only about putting more scooters in the streets. It's about how you can impact the whole society.
Right.
So we do a bunch of things completely different. So we work with mom and pop shops, restaurants, etc. That becomes what we call green zones, which are places where you can drop the scooter, and they are part of that. So they receive the scooter, they can charge them at night, so we can pay them. Then we hire people from low-income neighborhoods, so they can have better jobs, work
Right.
for a company, actually be officially hired, and pay taxes, have
Right.
social security,
Right.
be part of the society.
Yeah.
We also treat them really well. So we don't make any distinction between low income jobs and I think this is something that you learn when you come to the Bay Area. You understand that you need to create that in order to everybody to feel part of the same company.
Right.
This is huge because at that time you can really build a moat.
Right.
People coming from those neighborhoods actually are the one protecting our assets.
Right.
So they recover the scooters in their neighborhoods because they are part of that company. So they understand that it's better to help the company than to steal the company because that's how they're gonna make money on the long term. And they feel part of it. So it has been a huge journey to find a way to implement that. We even work with the governments. Like we have a fun fact that we gave 100 scooters to the city of Sao Paulo, and we have policemen now with scooters. And we train them how to use it. And it's bad because we want the whole society to understand
Right.
and to be part of that, and not just about putting scooters in the street.
Got it. No, that's definitely true. I think you, especially in countries, in Latin American countries, also India, if you can employ people and pay them enough wage so that they can live comfortably, it just has a huge impact on the community
Exactly.
itself and their families. And it doesn't take much. They are not Bay Area engineer salaries, but even very the certainty of having money and food on the table on a monthly or daily basis
Totally.
just goes a really long way.
It's something difficult to explain, I think, here in the US
Right.
because people are biased by what they know and their experience. And here, everything that has to do with hiring people is like a bad business.
Right.
But if you look at emerging markets, it's actually that's the opportunity.
Right.
If you take a company like Rappi,
Right.
Rappi is a company that is successful because they can hire lots of low-income people.
Right.
And that's why today in Latin America you can order you can order a Starbucks and pay only $1 to get it to your office, and it's a well-paid job for the person that will bring it, and you are happy because for $1 more it's you can have it at your office.
Yeah.
And it's the same for us. Like we can scale the business because we can hire a lot of people, which for us it's low income, but for them it's well paid.
Yes.
And that's the important part.
Right.
When you think about it, the way we thought it in the beginning is like, let's pay our senior management a little bit less, and with that difference we can pay them a little bit better. And it's with just lowering a little bit the senior management can help 5 or 10 people per month to have a better salary.
Right.
And we compensate that obviously with equity.
Right.
So we were very generous with our early employees because that was the logic. Like,
Right.
let's pay really well are like basic employees, like
Right.
the low income,
Right.
and we are not the best payer in the senior management, but they have equity,
Right.
which is now worth way more than
Yeah. No, and money, like senior management, because they already have savings, they can postpone salary for a longer period of time. For these people, it's just
let's say that $1,000 difference will not make a huge difference for
Right.
senior manager,
right.
but $1,000 divided by 10, it's $100 more per person. It's a huge difference.
Yeah,
We
it
are
can
speaking
change
about
their
like
life.
it's like a 20% difference,
Yeah.
and that makes the whole difference.
Yeah, it changes people's life. No, that's awesome. Now I know more about than I did before. Awesome. So you've been doing it for the past 10 months, and hopefully you'll just do it. You'll do it for the next 10 years and raise billions of dollars yourselves too. Let's talk a little bit about working with entrepreneurs from Latin America and bringing them to the US. So you mentioned that you sort of help them introduce to investors, help them introduce to founders here. How did that come about, and what's your philosophy on that?
So I think that's one of the reasons that Silicon Valley is so important is because the network. Once you get access to the right people, you can do amazing things. One of the big problem of emerging markets is that you don't have that access. You have very limited funds, limited experience. You don't have that many like big companies. So it was really important at that time to help founders to get access to the right people here. One of the best way to do that was through YC. So helping them connecting with other founders of YC, helping them with recommendation at YC, helping them with the interview. I think, again, YC did an amazing job, and especially Michael Siebel, opening the program to international companies.
Right.
And I think then it's becoming our responsibilities to help founders to
Right.
get access to that.
Right.
What Latin America needed was some cases of success.
Right.
And I think what happened in the last few years is correlated to that. We start having a couple of $1 billion company, which didn't exist before. Rappi, a couple of years ago, raised at $1 billion. Nubank, 99 Taxi was a company like doing like Uber for Latin America, and got sold to Didi for $1 billion. So that kind of things were needed in order to grow. But I think an important fact is like, okay, you are a founder, you want to build something. Like, what do you do? Where do you have access? And I only feel that we could help a little bit, like just to put in contact with the right people, getting access to that. And so we helped the way we could,
Right.
by investing sometimes, other times just putting in contact, helping people to get in. But the real credit is to YC, is to the investors, is to the founders themselves. I think they did an amazing job.
No, that's awesome, and that just starts a chain reaction. If you help
Totally,
one company, one Rappi is gonna bring 5 new Rappis.
To be honest, I don't know if Grin would have been able to raise the kind of money without the previous success of a company like Rappi, because a lot of funds missed out on Rappi,
Right.
and now they say
The famous Silicon Valley FOMO.
exactly.
No, that's great. As we come close to the end of the interview, 2 more questions. One is around investing in companies. So as you invested in 90 companies, what were the types of things you were looking for? What were the types of teams you were looking for when you were investing?
I think that with the time you get to know what you're looking for. It's like asking a young guy, what's the type of woman you want to marry. You know? Like it's hard to know until
Right.
you get certain experience. No, I think that in our case, we the more you invest, the more you start understanding that there are certain industries that you understand better than others,
Mm-hmm.
that there are certain founders with who you get along better than others, and it's something that you don't want to force. So it's okay to pass on deal just because there is not a good gimmick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also okay to invest in a company that might not be super successful, but that you can actually work together and learn to work, because the most important is the relationship you build, how you can help. I think that with the time, that's becoming the success, you know. The company we have invested out of FOMO, which we did, turns out to be really bad investments. And the company we did, like you guys, that, you know, it was not like considered a hot deal at YC,
Right.
but I'm really glad to be part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I think this is important, like
Yeah.
to trust what you see,
Mm-hmm.
and invest in those companies. I think the important thing is, like, it doesn't have to be a big check.
Right.
Invest something that is like something that you're already like okay. Like it's not the amount. It's about, like, if you can do it with enough people, work with enough people. At the end, you know, like, a good company will end up raising more money, so your money will not make the difference. And if you can help them, then that's how you build your reputation. That's how you will have access to more deals. And that's the most important. We see that the company that we were able to help, it created us a lot of more opportunity in the future. In the deals that we just got, like, opportunistic, yeah, sometimes you can be lucky, but at the end, it doesn't create a lot of value, neither for the company you invest, neither for you in the future, as reputation. So I think that that's important, like, to try to find what kind of company, what kind of founders you feel that you would like to work. It doesn't mean that you have to be on top of the founder all the time, asking a lot of questions,
Yeah.
but just be there when they need, you know.
Yeah.
It can be sometimes in bad moments,
Yeah.
like when we got a call about $50,000.
Those are the best moments to have. Like those moments really shine, and I still remember that call. It was a 30-minute call. We were looking at each other on a video call, and those things take for really long time. Cool. Last question. Now's the time for you to give advice to other founders who are who are primarily immigrants, maybe either from Latin America or India or other countries, and either thinking of moving to the U.S. With the eventual goal of starting companies or starting companies in their own countries. What would you advise? What's your advice to them as they think about entrepreneurship, as they think about starting a company that sort of that's going to define the next phase of their life?
So I think opportunity you have everywhere in the world. I think you don't need to come to the US for that. Do something that you're really passionate about, because it's gonna take 10 years.
Yeah. It's not like grow.
Look, to be honest, I think that grow, you may look at grow like it's 1 year,
Yeah.
but the reality that I've been working with Sergio for 10 years.
Yeah. There's
So
a lot of
it would not exist without the previous work.
Mm-hmm.
So we could argue that grow has been, like,
The
we were
making.
doing great, without even know it was grow.
Right.
But to be honest, it's an exception in the way, the fast it has been. But it was possible because of the hard work we've been doing for many years. And I think that whatever you do is gonna take a lot of time. So it has to be something that you're really passionate about, that you're ready to make a lot of sacrifice for the next 5 to 10 years. If not, when you need $50,000, you will probably
Yeah.
abandon because you don't
Right.
have them, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. And ideally, if you can do it with people you respect, you want to work, it's gonna make your life a lot easier to have people you can rely on, and that can rely on you.
Yeah.
So I would recommend to try to find a good team, people who you see yourself working together for the next 10 years. I would say, like, don't rush it. Take the time until there is something you really want to do. Like, there is nothing worse to work on something that you are not passionate about.
Right.
And then once you start it, give 200%. Like, don't do it to see if it's gonna work, like doing on the side and like little by little, because it's not gonna work. Like, it's only gonna work if you give 100% of what you have. And most important, don't ask other people if it's a good idea or not, because if they say it's a good idea, it's probably too late.
Fair enough.
And if they say it's not a good idea, you're probably not gonna do it because everybody says it's a bad idea.
Right.
But remember that every good idea at a certain point was a bad idea.
Right.
And like, generally speaking, like, when you start a company, there will be a lot of people telling you why you should not. And when it's successful, the same people will tell you why they always said they believed in you. So,
That's actually true.
yeah, I think that's the most important. And it's really hard because it's a trade-off in life, and you need really to be passionate about what you do in order to make those sacrifices. It's probably you could have a better maybe not now. It's still is another phase of the company, but when you started, you could have a great job, well paid, with a good salary, probably a car, and you decided to leave all of that behind and work and build your own company. Those trade-offs may work, may not work, but you need to know why you're doing that. If not, your wife, your parents, your friends will all ask you, why are you doing that?
No, my parents still do. My wife still does.
But I think this is important, that you know why you're doing that and that you're convinced. And it's gonna take time, but with the time, it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah. Very good advice, and I think it's a good point to end the interview. And thank you for your time.
Thanks
for
the invitation.
Yeah, I know you are super busy, and best of luck with Grow Mobility for the next 10 years.
Thanks, and for Stilt.
Yeah, thank you.